leadership. We'll be muting you all now, and we will have Q&A a couple of different times, and Erica and Lainey will unmute you if you have questions that they'll call upon you. A few logistics. One is I will be with you all for the first hour, and then I'll be jumping off for another commitment that I had before we decided to schedule these calls. So I'll say goodbye now. And want to let you know there's an email coming just after this class. And this email has a couple of important things that really matter to us. One is it's going to have a survey, and we really would love to learn from you. So if you would be willing to take, it's a very short survey, if you'd be willing to take a few minutes to gift us with your feedback, we would greatly appreciate it, and are hoping many of you, if not all of you, will do that. Secondly, we've created a couple of unique offerings for this group. One is we are putting together learning circles. They're circles of 15 to work with people on our team to come together 6 weeks in a row to practice together, to deepen all of what you've been learning. So Erica and Lainey will be putting links up to these offerings up on the chat. So if you all wouldn't add in your comments yet so people can see those. But that link there for the for learning circles is up. We're also going to have a book club. Jim and I are going to go through the first 7 commitments in the book as a book club, and that offering is available to you and anyone else who has taken a course with us. And then finally, we are going to have another one of these courses, and this is probably one more that we'll do. These have been special offerings that we've been doing right now. So if you know someone that you think would really like to be in this course, please, there's a link also for that. And we will also follow up with you all probably in a week with another email that you can forward off to people that you think might really enjoy this course. So those are some logistics. We're going to be working with some handouts today. So I want to make sure you have those. Ideally, we're going to be looking back at the above and below the line handout, or how to locate yourself handout. So if you make sure that you've got that. We're also going to be looking at the Teach the Class handout and the Fact and Story handout. And we'll be using both of those. And if you have the opportunity to print those out, it really helps. Otherwise, you can have a journal or something else to write on nearby that you can use to do some exercises. So I think that's it for logistics.
All right, so we like to review every time. So again, this is a course in the basics of conscious leadership, and it's built around these 4 questions. So the first question is, where am I? And that's a really important question. Again, we're not asking you, are you in Washington, D.C. or Berlin or Mount Shasta? We're meaning in context, where are you? Are you above the line or below the line? That's the first very simple question. Can you locate yourself? And as we said that week, that's developing this greater and greater awareness around what your particular triggered reactive patterns look like. What they look like in terms of what you hear yourself saying, how you're behaving, what you're believing. And more, if you keep doing this work, you're going to learn what your particular body signature is when you're below the line. What happens to your body? What posture do you take on? What happens to your voice and the quality of your voice and the pace of your voice? What happens to your breath pattern? Where does your body contract and tighten? So that at any moment you can just check. You can take a breath and check. And simply ask, where am I? Am I above the line or below the line? And remember, all that's built around the difference between context and content. So content is the stuff of our lives. The who, what, where, when, why, how. If we were out having a cup of tea or a glass of wine together, you would talk about your content. And then we would ask you, or you would start to ask each other, where are you around that content? Are you above the line or are you below the line? Are you in presence or are you in drama? Are you in trust? Are you in threat? Those are all synonyms for what state of consciousness are you in? Are you in to me, like the world is happening to you below the line, or are you in by me? So the first question, the first week was, where are you? And that's just the practice. We practice that all the time, all the time, all the time. That becomes part of our mindfulness spiritual practice, just locating myself. And then the second question is, can you accept yourself for being just where you are? And you'll recall that this question of acceptance comes from the experience that when you're below the line, you're in a state of threat or fear. And that the antidote to fear is acceptance. In other words, can you be aware? And then can you accept? Can you notice? And then can you welcome? So the second question is, can you take a breath? Today is Thursday and I'm triggered. Today is Thursday, I'm below the line. Today is Thursday, and here's the key, I'm scared. And remember, we explored a little bit that almost always when you're below the line, it's because some persona, often a young persona, is activated and has experienced the world as threatening. A threat to the wanting of approval, a threat to the wanting of control, a threat to the wanting of security. So when we really get masterful at acceptance, the second question, we actually develop the ability to find the little one in us who is the activated, scared one, and give that little girl or boy a breath of loving kindness and acceptance. Oh, sweetheart, you're just scared. Because the idea is that when we're scared, what we most need is just simply to be held by presence, to be accepted. And also, as we lead to the third question that we covered last week, you can't shift what you can't accept. So if you find yourself triggered and reactive and below the line, and then you try to come above the line without first accepting yourself, you'll find that you can't shift above the line and stay there because that activated, threatened consciousness will pull you back down. So the reason we accept is because once something is truly accepted, then we're free to shift. And shifts that last, the willingness shift that lasts, comes from the freedom to either shift or stay contracted. And that's what acceptance gets us to, is the place where we can either shift or stay reactive. Then from that place of freedom, we can really ask the question, are we willing to shift? Which is the third question. So first question, where am I? Second question, am I willing to shift? Second question, am I willing to accept myself for being just where I am? Third question, am I willing to shift? And remember, one of the keys that we said last week about that is, unless it's okay to not shift, you'll never be free to shift. And we said that about 80% of the time in our experience with ourselves and with other people, when you're contracted below the line, and even after you accept yourself, if you ask, are you willing to shift? The answer's no. I'm unwilling to shift. And we love that. That's fabulous. You just go, nope, I'd rather keep being right. I'd rather keep gossiping. I'd rather not feel my feelings. I'd rather live on the adrenaline of the drama triangle. I'd rather just, boom, nope, I'm unwilling to shift, which we love. We love it when we ask people, are you willing to shift? And they just say, no. We actually believe, if you hung with us more and had more conversations with us, we think that most of us weren't ever really allowed to have our no. And one of the keys to being a conscious leader is to have real access to your no. Because unless you have your no, it's hard to have your yes. So that third question, am I willing to shift? About 80% of the time, the answer is going to be no, and just say no. And then just get about living your life until you ask again, where am I? Can I accept myself? Am I willing to shift now? Because if you read our book, if you go to the last chapter of the book, the last chapter of the book is the change formula. And basically, if you boil the formula down, what it says is most of us don't change until there's adequate pain or a big enough vision. And a lot of times we're unwilling to change, shift out of our reactive posture because we haven't experienced enough of the effects and consequences of living below the line. It hasn't cost us enough. We haven't felt the pain of staying in that reactive posture. So when we say, are you willing to shift? And somebody says, no, we say, that's great. Just go keep living life from below the line around this issue. Eventually, either you'll get a big enough vision for a different way of being, or you'll feel enough pain that you'll get willing to shift. All right, so those are the first three questions. Where am I? Can I accept myself? Am I willing to shift? And today we're going to do the fourth question. How am I going to shift? But before we go there, let's just see. Diana, did that bring up anything for you? Anything you want to add to that summary?
Yeah, I just want to say two things. One, a lot of us think that in that question of am I willing to shift, that the yes is going to get me the goodies I think I want. And I just want to say in my own life, saying no can be as transformational as yes. And that no can get me motivated or help me learn. There's so much still to learn in no. If I'm unwilling, I might be able to go learn more about the parts of me, the personas that are keeping this whole issue going. I get to learn about the payoffs. There's just a lot of value there. So I want to just highlight transformation can happen just as much with no as with yes. And then also, another thing I was going to say is, I trust you when it's a no. We trust you because we know that there's something that's still wanting to get learned. Otherwise, like Jim said, if you really had a vision or you enough pain, you'd get out of there. So there's just something still happening that's wanting to get learned or something wants to get developed before you're ready to shift. And so my invitation is trust yourself. Trust your no.
Okay, so we want to pause here and just see if you have any questions or comments about what we've covered in the first 3 weeks, or anything you want to share about your experience, what you're learning or experiencing from these first 3 weeks before we go to the next three. So typically just write your question in the chat, and then Erica, our question guru over there, will pay attention and she'll talk to Lainey and they'll unmute people who want to ask the question or get a little bit supported.
Yes, if you raised your hand, if you could go over to the comment section to put the question in, that would be helpful. Or the comment.
Dominic, I'm going to unmute you so you can ask your question. You should be ready to go.
Yep, thanks. My question is just, I really appreciate, Diana, what you said about the power of just staying with no. My question is, it seems like there are people sometimes who are wedded to being below the line. It's almost become an identity that I'm below the line. And they're very deep in it. And so how would you recommend working with that?
Well, we're going to just see what they get to. There's all kinds of things you can keep learning with that no. But I really like what you said, which is, when people start to come above the line, it is an undoing of an identity, which is no small thing. And one of the things I've learned is that is a sacred thing and meaningful and can be quite terrifying for people. So it is not my business to know whether you ought to do that or not. And I'm careful about the significance of any time anybody comes above the line. So, so we could just help them keep looking at what are the costs, what are the payoffs, is this what they're wanting, is there anything else they want, helping them come up with visions. Sometimes people go, I just couldn't see another option, and so helping them see visions of what could be really exciting to people to make them willing to go through what could be very uncomfortable. Yep. And Jim, you may have something more to say about that.
Yeah, first, Dominic, that's not true about you, is it?
About me?
Yeah. You're
at
not.
times on certain things. Yeah,
Are you? There's still areas of your life where
sure.
you are completely committed to staying below the line.
As much as I don't want to admit it, yes.
Okay,
Sure.
cool, cool. Well, okay, so great. Then I'll deal with you around it, but I thought you'd be
Okay.
referring to other people in your life who are committed to that. So,
I can think of a few others. Yeah.
of
But
course, yes, yes. So let's just be gentle here because a lot of times people are in an unconscious, contracted, reactive, below the line space, and they have no awareness about it. This is just where they've lived all their life.
right, exactly.
So the first thing that's being offered to them is the awareness that there's a distinction between being in a frightened reactive state and being in a trusting state. Just the possibility that there's another way to live. People have never heard that. And again, if we're respectful and gentle, some of us who have experienced, meaningful trauma in our life, contracted around the trauma. We literally, like a turtle, came inside of our shell, armored up our bodies physically, armored up our minds and our hearts to protect ourselves. So we are in a forever reactive posture. And
Yes.
to that person, I say, of course you are. Of course you are. Life was so fundamentally intrusive and unfriendly that you have developed a complete posture of protection.
Yes.
So again, the first thing we'd want to do there is we just want to say, hey, there's another possibility for how to live. And then we'd want to be very gentle about introducing them to that and give them real safe on-ramps. Does that make total sense? Now with you, if it would be fun if we really had time to be with you, I'd say pick an area of your life where you see yourself still totally committed to being contracted. And then like Diana said, you would have the awareness to say, I am contracted. So that in and of itself is huge. And then I just have Diana help you find 2 or 3 of the personas that are keeping you there. And we would want to know them because they have tremendous wisdom that you'd want to access before you'd want to shift. We'd want to really get all the wisdom of the personas who are, so committed to keeping you safe through those identities. That'd be some of the stuff we'd say.
Could you say just a little bit more about the personas? So there's we'll say there's 8-year-old Dominic who's scared or whatever, and we want to be able. We're talking about we want to listen to him. What is it that he's afraid of? Why is he holding down? Is that what you mean when you talk about personas? Yeah.
When you're in the drama triangle, when you're in the roles of hero, villain, and victim, in each of those roles, personas arise. You have a super competent hero persona. You have a nobody gets me, you might have a nobody gets me victim persona, or you might have a critic that's pointing fingers at who's doing it right and wrong. So these are different personas.
Yeah.
And what happens in life is when you're below the line, the persona plays you. It's gotcha. When you're above the line, we want personas, they're helpful, but we play the persona, we choose it. So learning how to play the persona so it stops playing you is a big part of what we work with clients.
Got it. Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you both.
Yeah, that would be something if you want to learn more and join a learning circle, and that's a place where you'll get to play a lot more with personas.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't know about learning circles, but I'll try to find out about those. Great.
Yeah, there'll be links at the top of the page for you to take a look at.
Great. Thanks.
So we have a question from Nico that other people are interested in the answer to as well. I'm going to unmute you right now.
Thanks.
Right now.
Yeah, right now. So I'm noticing for myself, and also I'm a coach of others, so I'll speak for both, that when it comes to anger, I've been conditioned, especially as a woman, I think maybe men are also in different ways, to not feel that, and to certainly not express it. And so knowing that that's kind of part of feeling it to get back above the line, or at least just feeling it, I wonder what your advice is about how to do that effectively. Even my son last night, who's 12, said, I feel so angry right now, Mom. Like so many things are making me feel angry. And I thought, oh my God, me too. And so are my clients. I don't really know what to do about that. So I'd love your advice.
Okay. So anger above the line does not blame anything or anyone.
Mm.
It's freed up of wanting to be right. It just says, grr, something here could be more exquisite. Something here could serve me and my people more. It's not critical.
Mm.
I like to think of it like back in the old days when they made movies. I don't know what they do now, but you know, like they're trying to film a scene and they're like, yeah, it's okay, but cut. It could be more exquisite. From above the line, that's the mindset. Cut, end scene. End scene, there's another scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's not pointing fingers and being critical or blaming.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
that's key, first of all. Most of us were taught anger that's got blame, righteousness, and criticism in it.
Yeah.
You're doing it wrong. Can you believe what they're doing? I can't. So you want to pay attention because otherwise you get in what's called a cognitive emotive loop, where you want to be right and then you anger yourself. And then the anger fuels the thought and you get in a loop.
Mm. Yep.
Okay. So you want to pay attention. Am I wanting to be right? But if you are noticing, I'm letting go of, I just notice angers here. It often shows up in the back, the neck, the shoulders, the jaw, heat rising often. We call it like your hackles are up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? People who have a lot of TMJ at night might want to take a look at how they're not expressing their anger during the day. So there's different kinds of ways you can pay attention from the body to know that you're angry.
Yeah.
And then the practice is to start to find friendly ways to express it through the body in particular. Anger wants to usually come up and out and through the hands. And so taking 15, 20 seconds to let yourself, or take a towel and twist it and bite into it.
I love that.
Right? Or get in front of a mirror and just let yourself find a mammal and let your mammalian growl come forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I recommend practicing. I actually give this assignment to a lot of clients is do some mirror work. Pick an animal that represents to you like healthy boundary anger, whether it's like a mama grizzly or an ape or a lion. Find your animal and work in the mirror until you can find the coming back at you in a way that you go, woo, there you go.
Okay, great.
The reason for that is like, you know, if you step on a dog's foot, the dog just goes, whoa, you know, and it's not like you don't take it personally, but it's the intelligence of anger. Something's not serving. You're putting too much pressure on my foot.
Yeah.
So coming in, finding that mammalian part of us tends to not be personal. We can depersonalize anger then.
Okay.
You know, several people check this. So, Nico, let's just do a quick practice. Would you be willing to do a practice with your anger?
Yes.
We'll go with it.
It's so uncomfortable, but I'm totally willing to do it. Yes.
Shook your head. No, we'll go with it. Okay.
Okay.
And everybody else play along. So nobody takes a break now. Everybody think of something in your life that when you think about it, you can feel anger rise up in your body. Think of a person, a situation, a circumstance. Everybody call it up. And Nico, you do yours.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Now, everybody do for yourself what we're going to coach Nico to do. Okay, so Nico, you have the person, circumstance, situation.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see it? Can you hear it? Okay, good.
Yeah.
So now I want to move from the thinking to the body. And I just want to ask you, where is the anger in your body?
Yeah, it's here. It's like right in my upper chest.
Right in your upper chest. Great.
Yeah.
Let's begin by just allowing that to be here. So now we just want to say, just allow the anger to be here. Yeah. And now we're going to ask you, what are the sensations? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it twisting, popping, burning? What's it doing?
Yeah, it's warm. I feel really warm. And it's tingling. I can feel it really tingling. And I have to say, it's more of a frustration. It's not like a big mad anger, but it's a real frustration for me.
Great. Tingling, warm, frustrating.
Yeah.
Notice your hands started to move a little bit.
Yes.
So first thing we did is we just located it in the body. We're letting it be there. So now we're not trying to get rid of this. We're just going to let this anger be here.
It's so hard. All I want to do is get rid of it. You know, that's my training. So I'm like breathing through it already. So, okay, I'm going to try to keep it here.
This is what many of us do. So instead of breathing through it, let's breathe it and allow it. So now we're just going to welcome it. So we're not trying to make it get bigger, smaller. We're just welcoming it, tingling. So just breathe a couple of breaths. Let the anger be here.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Now, stay with the sensations. Are they still here?
Yeah.
Beautiful. If they were to make a sound, not words, a sound, what sound would they make? So now what you're wanting to do is match the experience in your body with an expression out of your mouth, just a sound. What sound would they make? Everybody else do this as well. If you're on mute, make sounds. I want you to make your sound, Nico. Yeah. Now, beautiful, beautiful. Now check, did that match it fully or is there more?
Yeah, there's more. It's
willing to match it. Might be a little bigger sound. You might want to loosen your jaw and just let yeah, good.
I want to stand up and stomp.
There you go.
I want to get your whole body into it.
Yeah.
Watch Erica, everybody.
Yeah.
Erica, there you go. That's it. Yeah. 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 Beautiful. Everybody else stop, scream. And again, all you're doing is letting the body lead. That's it, Nico. Just let your body lead you. Okay, now Nico and everybody else do this. This is fabulous. Now take a nice deep breath. Again, the body is leading here. The body's leading. So now just check in that chest area. What's here now? Is it shifted, moved, changed colors, shapes, textures? Just tell us what the body's doing.
I feel like I've literally shaked it to my hands.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
So go ahead and shake your hands now.
Yeah,
if it's
still in my hands, but
rid of it, you're matching it. Yeah, let the hands shake. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, 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 beautiful. Nice deep breath.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you notice I'm just riding your waves with you and I can feel it all over my body. I don't know whether Erica's moving her energy or yours. We're all just kind of dancing with you. Because this life force called emotions, this life force called anger is so fucking enlivening. Can you feel your aliveness? Yes. You're alive. Yeah. And now just report what's happening in the body. Is you might be like the wave of anger come through. Now we might be in a little bit of a trough, a little bit of peace, a little bit of space.
Yeah. And I noticed at the beginning, I really had a lot of tears behind it. I think, again, that's like what I've been taught to do. And I'm like, oh, my tears are really gone. Like, I feel a lot of spaciousness. And my body feels like big and wide. Before it felt really just very tight.
Yeah.
And there might be tears there too. It might be sad and angry.
Yeah.
Disappointment, disappointment's often both. So make sure there's space for both. You might be brokenhearted at the same time that you're furious, frustrated.
So this is commitment number 3 of the 15 commitments, which just simply says, I commit to feel my feeling all the way through to completion, which is what you're doing. And like Diana's suggesting, there might be a wave of sadness. Then you'd ride that. Just let the body weep, let tears fall out of your eyes, whatever. It's just liquid love. Just let your heart break. You just ride that. So the commitment says, I commit to feel my feelings all the way through to completion. I like these next words. They come, I locate them in my body. That's what you did. And then I breathe, move, and vocalize. So you just led a master class on feeling anger, but you do this with all the feelings. By the way, you said your son, how old is your son?
12.
Yeah, believe me, he would love this class.
Oh my God, I can't wait. Yeah, so perfect.
Again, like Diana mentioned, you might want to have a little sometimes I'll take a tennis racket and just hit a couch, a pillow, or put a towel in your mouth because sometimes you want to bite. The body knows, let the body lead. And as soon as you're letting the, Diana, are you going to get yes.
Go to bed and do this.
Yes.
Super friendly.
Yes.
Because if you have a lot, it feels good to hit something, but do it with something soft that doesn't hurt the body.
Yeah.
Nico, I have a 14-year-old son who's in another room here too.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was about 12, lots of anger came up for him. And because of his personality type and how he is, he went inside and he would get really sad. And when I figured out that there was anger underneath that, what I had him do is I said, couch, pillows, you have a date. What do you think? And I didn't make him do it, but I suggested it. And this kid is so aligned and poised, this human. And I heard him in the other room, just with the pillow on the couch and his rage. It was amazing. The first time I heard it, and then he came back in and he was just present. So he taught me a lot about expressing my anger as well.
Yeah, thanks.
So I really see you.
And then we'll wrap this moving energy up. Nico, we did something very intentional with you. I asked you to bring the thought into your mind, then drop into your body. And you dropped right into your body. So that's beautiful. So we separated intentionally the thinking from the feeling. The feelings occurring in and on the body, we got you in the body. Then you welcomed, moved, breathed, vocalized, and you noticed that I paused you it depends, but it could be every couple of minutes, and asked you to take a breath and check back with the body. There's several reasons we do this. One of them is that especially with anger, if you just start beating the shit out of a pillow, you can actually adrenalize your body and get hooked on the adrenaline so that you just want to do more of that, more of that, more of that. Mm-hmm. And that's actually a move from below the line. The subtle thing you were doing, Nico, and I think you have real body intelligence here, you were letting the body lead. So the body starts in the chest, then it's out to the hands, then the energy body is expanded, then there's tears. So you let the body lead. You don't get all amped up on adrenaline. In the old days, back in the 70s and stuff, I used to take men out into the wilderness and we would do this work. But if you didn't take a break and breathe and reconnect with presence, it just turned into an adrenalized thing. You can keep that going forever. And then the last thing I want to say is we started with the head, we got into the body, we released the body. Now, the next thing we would do is we would go back to your head and we would ask you to identify the belief that is the source of the anger. Like you might have a judgment, and then we would deconstruct the judgment, commitment number 10. We'd learn to see that the opposite of the judgment could be as true. So we're unhooking the cognitive emotive loop by letting the body release and then deconstructing the thought, so I'm free in my thinking and I'm free in my body, and that's presence. So we just did a little mini practice with you, but this is tied to a much, much bigger practice around emotion. Okay.
Okay, so the fourth question of conscious leadership is, How will I shift? And we just did one of the shift moves, which is feel your feelings all the way through to completion. So this is a very, very valuable shift move. This is emotional intelligence. And we think this is one of the keys for why people stay stuck, is they don't want to be with those feeling states. And they don't know how. And so no one's ever taught them that. So I'd like to have you all access your above and below the line handout, or it might say how to locate yourself. It's the one that you originally did where you circled your below the line patterns. So this last question, how will I shift? If you go to the top half of this page, all of the content above the line, and you look at the behaviors column, these are shift moves. These are how you can shift. This isn't the whole list, but this is a good set of the fundamentals that we tend to want to focus on for how to shift. And there's two different categories of shift moves. One category are shift moves that help address your brain and blood chemistry. When you are really reactive, you usually have some adrenaline running through, you got some cortisol, you're amped, you're pumped. If you're all heavy and full of chemicals running through your body and your brain's hijacked by all that, you're not going to be very curious in that moment. You're not going to be very available for other shift moves. So we want to address brain and blood chemistry first. And the top two shift moves on that list, breathing and significantly changing your posture, are two that we know that are very effective in addressing that. So one shift move we have is called 4x4 breathing. And that is where you take 4 breaths, 4 seconds in and 4 seconds out, and let yourself settle in and have that chemistry start to disperse in the body. And the second one that you might know less about is learning to change your posture in different ways. So we're going to practice this one. I want everybody to think of an issue that find one that really triggers you. Get one that's like, oh, this one, it could be about something personal in your lives or something about the world at large. Find something that gets you pumping. Okay? Bring it to your mind. See the images, hear the sounds of this issue. And what I'd like everybody to do is to stand up. And if you're not wearing pants, you can stay seated or not. And I'd like you to think of this issue. And while you're thinking of this issue, the practice is to move your joints. The joints in your hands, your arms, your hips, your vertebra, your knees, your toes. Just want you to start moving your joints and move them in improvisational ways so there's not a pattern. You don't stay doing the same thing. And move them with curiosity, like, wow, I wonder how these fingers could move in ways I have never moved. Or how could my vertebra move around in different ways? So your hips in particular, people tend to close their hips down. How can my hips move? All the different joints in there. And you have a face with all these different ways your face can move. So you can move your face. And so you're just letting yourself move around, thinking of your issue. Think of your issue as you're moving. See if there's any parts of the body that are dropping out. Move those parts. Your knees, your ankles, your neck, shoulders. And then take a pause. Notice what happens in the body when you let yourself squeeze some of your joints. And what happens with the issue? So come on back and have a seat. I want to hear from a couple of you, what did you notice occurred when you let yourself think of something that's very triggering and add in this joint movement?
I don't think people are able to unmute themselves. So
Raise
you have to raise a hand and I'll unmute you.
And or you can put comments in what happened. Yeah, sensations. There's a release of that tension, that energy. Anybody, what was it like? Could you keep hold of your...
Harriet, you're unmuted.
Oh,
thanks
hi
for
there.
raising your hand.
I felt the intensity of my anger around this particular issue dissipated, and the more I was following what Diana was doing and doing my own thing, there was a disconnect between the feeling and there was a disconnect.
Yes, you get out of that loop.
Yeah. I got out of the loop with it was that's what I meant. It was a disconnect between the feeling in my head going
Beautiful. Beautiful. My husband and I used to get triggered a lot around money. So one of the things we started to learn was, let's talk about money while we're doing this. And we resolved all of our money issues because all that reactivity that we were caught up with in the body wasn't there. We instead filled the body with endorphins, which what happens when you start to squeeze these joints, and we were able to keep a clear mind and come up with win for all solutions that we couldn't find when we were triggered.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sharat has her hand up.
Okay, I did not see that.
She just physically hands the hand.
Oh. Okay.
Hi,
Right.
I couldn't find my hand up icon. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I felt more space inside my body, less pressure. I felt like I feel like I created space inside my body. Is what I felt. It was a release of the tension, and it was taking up a lot of space there.
Beautiful. That's exactly what we're going for. And then in that space, there's a possibility for more curiosity.
An open mind.
An open mind for learning. Exactly.
Here, yes.
If I do this move, I can't stay caught in a stuck. I can't stay on the drama triangle with my issue when I'm doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on. Here's the next shift move, which is called Teach Your Drama Class. Teach your drama class. I'd like you to come up with some issue that's currently going on in your life. It could still be that issue from the very beginning of class that you brought up. Maybe that's still alive for you. If it is, great, you could use that, or some other issue that's arisen in your life that you're currently dealing with. And ideally, this is an issue that's got a bit of history to it. It didn't just happen. You've got some repeating pattern around an issue. And what we'd like you to do is, we're going to have you be a professor. You've been hired by a major university, and the rest of us are going to come take your class. And we're coming to attend because we want to create the exact same drama that you're creating in your life, this issue. We want this same issue in our lives. So for example, if the issue is, my kid's not motivated, I want my kid to not be motivated the way you make sure your kid's not motivated. We heard a little of this last time when we were hearing about, make sure you judge them, make sure you don't listen to what their needs are, certain things that you do to keep your kid unmotivated. So you're going to teach a course on how to recreate the drama. And what we'd like is 5 steps. Can you give us five steps? If you do these 5 steps, you too can have this drama. And the handout has some different kinds of questions. You don't have to use these questions necessarily, but they're just questions that you might consider to help you write and teach your class?
I want to say, like several of you, when we were checking in at the beginning, said you were committed to overwhelm. Teach us, if we wanted to live in overwhelm, how would we do it? If we wanted to overwhelm ourselves, just like you're overwhelming yourself, what would we have to believe? What would we have to do? What would we have to not do? Teach us. We want to learn how to be overwhelmed too. If several of you said that at the beginning, or
yeah, and specifically, don't teach us just generally how you think people should create overwhelm. Teach us specifically how you do it, your unique flavor of how you create overwhelm. So we're going to take a few minutes here to write down at least 5 steps. And you're going to be teaching this course to some other people in the class. So make sure you've got 5 steps to share with them. And feel free to put a playful title on your course. And, you know, like, is this a PhD level course? Are you like really masterful at this? Or, you know, is this just a beginning 101 course? Do you have a doctorate in this topic? How many of you need more time? Show of hands. Okay, a couple of you. Okay. If you don't have all 5, that's okay. We're going to be putting you into groups of 3 and 4. And what we'd like you to do is take turns teaching the class to one another. You'll each get a couple of minutes to share your course, and make sure you give all the details. And if there's some time, you can ask questions. Professor, do I need to do, is there anything else I need to do to make sure I'm really good at this? If there's time, but everybody will get a couple of minutes, and you'll notice Eleni will give you an invitation to shift to the next person. So Lainey, if you could go ahead and put people into their groups. Person with the shortest hair, you'll go first.
rolled my eyes and oh, we're back. Oh.
All right, I just want to remind you, some of you probably weren't here right at the beginning when Diana mentioned that she was going to leave at the top of the hour, so she's gone on to another experience. Erica and I both expressed our sadness in our breakout session with her. Just love playing with her and having her around. Okay, does anybody want to share anything about that experience? So this is a wonderful shift move, along with own your unconscious commitment. So that's how it's tied together. Last week we talked about own your unconscious commitment, like I'm unconsciously committed to overwhelming myself. Great. If I wanted to know how to overwhelm myself, could you teach me? So now you're actually teaching the class, and it can be around your unconscious commitment. Incredibly powerful shift move. So anybody want to share anything about that experience or ask a question? If you do, just type it in the chat, and then Erica will identify you and we'll hear what you have to say.
Natalie, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you.
Hi.
Hi, go ahead.
Great, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for this exercise. It was really insightful. And I was teaching a PhD level class on how to love and hate my brother simultaneously, which I've been working on for a lifetime. So I really honed this drama. And it was just really amazing actually to see that in the steps that do kind of are this cycle, this ongoing cycle, how I was really switching between villain and victim a lot, like really oscillating between both of those key pieces, and maybe moments of hero, but mostly villain and victim. And it kind of brought awareness or made me realize that a lot of the ways that I've tried to navigate the relationship at different times, like it isn't changing. It's that I keep shifting between what are still these roles that are below the line. And it's impacting the way that I communicate, and my attempts to navigate and thinking that I'm doing things from a place of consciousness are still like pretty deeply grounded in a sense of either like being totally at the effect of him and how I experience him, or of totally villainizing him and just experiencing him as a bigot and looking to make him wrong. So yeah, it was just very informative. So I was grateful for that process and amazed at how much revealed itself in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. So especially when you pick something like that, you know, like you said, this is a relationship that's been going on for many, many years. So you're picking one of your central repeating patterns and starting to unwind it. So a lot of times, you know, the insights will come in progressive layers of insight. You can stay with this practice for a while. I love that you notice how you move back and forth in the triangle, back and forth between two predominant archetypes. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I'm so curious on how to really be able to shift it, but with, you know, things that are like lifelong, you know, it's a 42-year-old relationship. He's my older.
I got it. Well, here's the deal. This is the beautiful part about Teach the Class, is you write down your steps. If I want to create a love-hate relationship with a sibling, how would I do it? Write down the steps. Good. When or if you ever get willing to shift it, you've already written the prescription for how to shift it. Just do the opposite of what you have in your class. That's the other reason we love this tool so much, because again, if somebody wrote, if you want to overwhelm yourself, you know, get up in the morning, the first thing you do is you look at your email. Then the second thing you do is you drink a cup of coffee and get yourself all caffeinated. Then the third thing you do is call your office and get overwhelmed by what you didn't do the day before. Well, again, if you really want to shift it, you just do the opposite. So don't get up in the morning and check your email first thing. Get up and do a breathing practice or meditate. Don't drink caffeine, drink water, whatever it is, you just do the opposite. That's your prescription for how to shift when you get ready, but you've got a business you're facing. Okay. One more, Erica.
Shell, I am unmuting you now.
Okay. So the course that I want to teach is how to make everything serious. No matter how small or big it is, you know, getting your groceries done or having a big achievement in life. So what I do is step number one is to believe every outcome you want is a life or death issue. So visualize a tiger coming at you, and no matter how small the issue is, and then repeat that to yourself over and over until you get all the fight chemicals in your body going. And then you move like that animal with all that fight chemicals, with ferocity. And then once you achieve your goal, don't celebrate. Don't take a victory lap. Pick another goal and do it over and over until you burn out.
Oh, beautiful. I love it. Did you probably didn't see this. Somebody typed in the chat line to you, they said, don't smile. This is serious. Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's add one more shift move in, and then we'll do some general sharing or questions. The other handout that we had you pick was the fact and story handout. So take that out if you have it there, your fact and story handout. And this is another one of our favorite shift moves. And what I want to ask you to do is, if you're willing, keep using the content that you just used for the Teach the Class. So keep working with that issue, and we'll now apply fact and story to it. So this is a very simple exercise, as it says. You just write down your issue at the top of the page, whatever your issue is. So how to stay in a love-hate relationship with your brother, how to make everything serious, how to live in overwhelm, whatever yours is, just write the top. And then often what I do is I say, if it's not top of mind, bring the issue into your mind. And we do this all the time where you actually can see it. You know, like with Natalie, she might be her relationship with her brother. See it playing out, visualize it. So you can see images and hear sounds, and you can start to feel it in your body. So you're letting the movie play. Now, once the movie starts to play, you're going to step back from the movie and you're going to fill in this sheet of paper. On one side are the facts. Now, a fact is that which is totally unarguable, that which a video camera would record. So a fact is completely free from any interpretation. It is just what a video camera would record. So, for example, when you start listing the facts in the situation, if you have any adjectives or adverbs, it's not a fact. If you have any beliefs or judgments, it's not a fact. If you have any comparisons, it's not a fact. A fact is, man has on shirt. I'm giving you facts about me. We could even stipulate fact, the shirt is blue, although actually if we get scientific about it, it's a little bit arguable, but let's say man has on blue shirt. Another fact would be man has on glasses, right? Another fact would be man has hair. Got it? You could say gray hair, but that gets a little more arguable. How about if you said man has really attractive, beautiful, curly hair? Is that a fact or is that a story? Everybody get thank you. Thank you, Kimberly. Yes, that's a story. Because an equally story could be man looks like wild, ungroomed man who hasn't had haircut for weeks and doesn't plan to for months. That would be a story too. Man got a haircut 8 weeks ago. Fact. Man looks unkept, wild. Story. So again, facts are what a video camera would record, totally unarguable. Stories are what, I'm going to say this very carefully for you, what our minds make up about the facts. Right? So these are the interpretations, the beliefs, the judgments, the opinions. All of these are the stories. Got it? So you're going to take your issue and you're going to write down the facts and the stories. And just start down the list. Take your issue and start writing down facts and stories. Again, facts totally unarguable. Just what a video camera would record. No interpretation, no adjectives, no adverbs. And then on the other side, go ahead and make up the stories. Whatever opinions, judgments, beliefs you have about the person, circumstance, condition, about the facts. You're not trying to withhold your stories. You want to get them all out. Get as many of the facts you can and get all the stories. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do that, just sitting or standing there as you are. You might notice, this is fairly common, that it's easier. You might be able to come up with 2 or 3 or 3 or 4 or 4 or 5 facts, and then you can come up with lots of stories. That's okay. They don't have to be equal, and they don't have to be causal. You don't have to tie your stories to particular facts. Just anything that this situation in life is bringing up for you, what are the facts and what are the stories you're making up? All right, so I imagine by now everybody's got at least a couple of facts and a couple of stories. You can kind of see how this is going. We're going to be meeting next week. I'd ask you to fill this out. I see that some of you filled it out, which is great in preparation for this. Super. Take your time with it. Really come up with a nice complete list. All right, now I want to ask every single one of you a question. Place your attention on the list of facts. Place your attention on only the list of facts, no stories. And the question is this: are any of those facts causing your upset? If you picked an issue around which you're upset, like your relationship with your brother, or not being serious, ever taking life too seriously, or living in overwhelm, are any of the facts causing your upset? Everybody check. Another way we would ask this: are any of the facts causing your drama? Another way I might ask this question is, are any of the facts causing your suffering? You're just checking. Are any of the facts causing your irritation, frustration, anger, drama, stress, upset? Yeah, I see some of you saying yes. Okay, good. So somebody who thinks that one of the facts is causing your upset, I'd like you to get unmuted. So Erica, can you just look somebody who's saying yes to a fact causing upset? It really doesn't matter who, just pick one of them.
Yes. Evan, I'm going to unmute you.
Hi. So I have had conflict with a co-founder in a startup business. And so this one, maybe it blends facts with story a little bit, but it's actually taking words spoken by or written in messages by my co-founder, saying things like, "You deserve nothing."
Okay, great. We just, based on time, Evan, I just want to work with one of you, one of these. Would that be all right?
That one would work. Like
That's
his
perfect,
words,
right.
"You deserve
So,
nothing."
fact, your co-founder sent an email or a text or said out loud, something that a video camera would record. Your co-founder said the words, "You deserve nothing." Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. And your belief is that those words, "you deserve nothing," are the cause of your upset. Is that correct?
More or less.
Okay. Well, here's what I want. I want you to check and see. Do you attach a story to the words, "you deserve nothing"?
Yes.
What's the story you attach to those words?
The story is something like, I do deserve something, and he doesn't recognize my value.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. The words, by the way, did he type these to you? Did they come in an email or a text, or did they come?
This is by text, yeah.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. So literally the facts are that there are some pixels on a screen that form some shapes that turn into letters that become phonemes that create words that say, "You deserve nothing." Now, if you just look at those words as pixels forming letters, forming phonemes, becoming words, there's no upset. In order for there to be upset, you have to believe a story. And the story you have to believe is, for example, "I do too deserve something." You follow that? The words, then you, between the words and your upset, you make up a story. "I do too believe something." You get that's a story, that's an opinion. And then you are upset. Now, what I'd encourage you to look at is the actual pixels don't cause the upset. What causes the upset is your attachment to the story. By the way, you make perfect sense. This is a co-founder. You're not batshit crazy. That mind of yours is going, "That's not true. I deserve something," right? And by the way, you could have a bunch of other stories like, "What a rude asshole to say anything like that in the first place," or "What an entitled jerk," or whatever. All of which you could have a whole bunch of stories attached to that. And what we would want you to see through some self-aware practice is the fact itself isn't causing the upset. It's the story, because I could read the exact same words. He could send the exact same words to me. They wouldn't cause any upset at all, because I wouldn't have any story. Can you see what's happening there?
Yes.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So I just wanted to have you illustrate for everybody else. when you do this practice, you get ruthless around deconstructing what's causing the upset. That's the discipline here. So the practice is separate fact from story, and then notice what's causing my upset. Now, the reason this becomes so powerful, Evan, is what you discover, our experience is that the source of those stories is your mind. That's why we say you're making up the story. And then your ego identity, just like mine, gets attached to being right about the story. And once my ego identity gets attached to being right about the story, I need to make him wrong and bad. If I'm right, this is such a good illustration. If I'm right that I deserve something, then he's wrong that I don't. All right, so facts, my ego identity generates self-preservational stories attached to wanting approval, control, and security. And then once I attach to and believe the story, I upset myself. Now, in my world, in our world at CLG, that's an incredibly empowering realization. From below the line, doesn't it look like your co-founder is upsetting you? From below the line, it looks like he's hurting you or he's pissing you off. From above the line, from creator, you discover I'm upsetting myself. And if I were to say, Evan, how are you upsetting yourself? You could say, here's how I upset myself. I look at these pixels, I make up a story designed to defend my position. I attach to being right about it. I fuel it with some righteousness. And soon as you know, I'm upset. Now, the reason that's so incredibly empowering is because you could deal with your story. So you become the creator of your upset. If you hang out with us very long, like you get in one of these coaching circles that we're offering, you'll often hear us say stuff like this. You'd call me up and say, hey, Jim, how you doing? I'd say, well, right now I'm upsetting myself, Evan. And you'd say to me, how are you upsetting yourself? And I'd say, well, I'm upsetting myself because my co-founder just said I didn't deserve something. So I made up a shit ton of stories and I'm totally fixated on being right about it. And when I do that, I upset myself. I'm stressing the hell out of myself. And then you could say to me, how long are you going to keep doing that? It's such a wonderful question. I could go, well, let me think about that. I think this is a big enough story that I'm going to keep upsetting myself for about 6 more months about this. Okay, great. So it's a tremendous deconstruction of what's causing the upset and the drama, and then a tremendous empowerment that we are the story maker. This resonating with you, Evan? Are you getting
Totally. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Oh, great. God, thank you. Because you took a juicy one. I mean, that's a big deal. Important relationship, a big a set of words, easy to get charged around. We could find 25 other people right here in this Zoom session who would say, you're right, man. He should never say that to you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the practice on this shift move. Be very disciplined, separating fact from story, and really get ruthless. And here's our hypothesis for you to test. Facts have never caused anybody's upset. Stories have never caused, stories are always the cause of our upset. Facts have never caused suffering. Now I'd ask you to check that, test it, test it. Test it, by the way, first on your own life, because the tendency is to go to, what about the facts of what's happening out there to them over there? Start with your own life first and see. And then you can start to extrapolate out to the world. All right. Facts and stories. It's a fantastic shift move. Okay. We've only got a few minutes left, so I want to review what's going to happen next for you and your options and possibilities, and then we'll wrap up our time together. So right here at the end, Lainey is going to put in the chat channel a link to the survey for this. And it's only got a couple of questions, take you just a couple of minutes to fill out. Our request, just a request, would be that you would click on that and fill that out now. You know, the tendency is you won't fill it out. Odds of filling it out if you don't do it now drop dramatically. So that'd be a request we'd have so we can get feedback, so we can be more and more able to serve you and other people. And then also, we're going to put in links for the upcoming 2 offerings that we made for you, having completed this. One is to join me and Diana in a book club where we're going to take 6 weeks and we're going to go into the first 7 chapters of the book. That would be another large group experience like this, I imagine. And then the other thing is to join a practice group with one of our certified coaches who's on our team at CLG. There's one with George Leftwich and one with Kate Hudson. And that'll be a group of 15 of you who will meet to just practice these 4 questions. Where am I? Can I accept myself? Am I willing to shift? How will I shift? Because some of you want to work in a smaller group where you can be very, very interactive with each other and under the tutelage of somebody who has some mastery over this, our coaches. So those are the 2 offerings that we're bringing your way. So our request is fill out the survey, and then these offerings are available to you. And then we're going to send you a follow-up email as well that captures all this. Erica, did I say all that accurately? Is that what needed to be said right there?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, great. Anybody want to express anything by way of completion, say anything, share anything, ask a question? We have 3 minutes left. Erica, would you just unmute whoever it is that wants to say something?
Pradeep, I just unmuted you.
Yes. Thanks a lot to both of you for setting this up. It's been very, very nice and very useful for me. I have a quick question on the final exercise on separating facts from stories. I do feel there's an element of some wisdom that emerges and some energy that emerges from that story, and sort of just completely decoupling it and making it pure facts seems almost like robotic in some way in how I'm responding to it. Can you comment on that? Because I feel like that impulse is having some useful information on how I should channel my energy and respond. Perhaps not by getting into the triangle, but in a different way.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. So I'm not saying, we're not saying that there isn't tremendous value in the stories. There's tremendous value in the stories. There's value in the stories at one level of seeing how they are generating my experience, but there's also wisdom in them. So much wisdom, like, how do I make up that story? What do I get out of making up that story? In relationship, there's tremendous wisdom in sharing your stories with each other. Like Evan, I don't know whether he's in a conscious relationship with his co-founder, but he could go to his co-founder and say, you know, when I read the words, "You don't deserve anything," I made up the following stories. And I want to check those out with you because I'm relating to you as though those stories are true. Or I made up these stories and I want you to know me. Or I've made up these stories and I'm going to move into action based on the stories. By the way, you could move into action based on the stories from above the line. You wouldn't be moving in from below the line. So we're not saying there are facts and stories. Facts are that which is unarguable, and stories like are worthless. That's not true at all. Part of being a human being is that we are story and meaning-making machines. So there's value in that. That's what you're saying, right? Oh, I think you're muted again. Erica, he's muted, I think. Did he do that or did we do that?
Yeah, now I'm back. I think
okay.
I was muted. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Jim. So I think let me paraphrase just to see I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, initially I'm having an implicit story making mechanism behind my experiences, which I observed already.
Yes.
Exercise, right? So I seem to have a default choice of my favorite approaches to responding to any fact. And so what we are doing is we are deconstructing that. Now I'm more aware of these patterns. Now, at the next stage, I would experience things, decouple the story, and then apply my energy and the wisdom to act on it. So it's sort of like an initial process of, I have a story and I have a pattern, I decouple the pattern, and then I'm able to reintegrate it and act. Would that be the right way to go forward
Yes,
with it?
absolutely. And there's so much. I'd love to spend another hour on this with you. I love what you saw. First of all, you're going to discover that you have particular patterns of making up stories. This would be on your personality structure, race, gender, privilege, all that stuff organizes over here that I make up repetitive patterns of stories. So first of all, there's tremendous value in being able to see how I'm seeing the world through my stories. And as I see that, I open up more and more capacity to see more and more of reality clearly. That's huge. And then not only that, but I can start to see wisdom in my stories, and I can start to see how my stories keep me trapped, both. So first just deconstruct, then start playing with what's in the story that creates aliveness, that keeps me from being alive. There's so much over there.
Perfect. Super helpful. I think I have a sense for it. And I think next step is probably just practicing on it.
Great. All right, all you beautiful beings, it's 31 minutes past the hour. So on behalf of me, Diana, Erica, Lainey, I want to express to you how grateful we are that you would join us in this conversation. I mean, this is what lights us up, being in this conversation in the world, and that you would take 4 weeks and all these minutes to be together and to enter in so engaged and playful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And let's just unmute and say goodbye as you wish, and then let us serve
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you. This was amazing.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Great.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you,
What's so
Jim.
great.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Lainey.
Lainey.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Diana.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dana. Thank you.
Survey.